Hello everyone, myself Hardik Chaudhary. I am a student at Lovely Professional University. Welcome to my video where I delve the intricate world of database design by exploring the ER diagram of the Apna application. In today's digital age, understanding the underlying database structures of application like Apna is crucial for developers and stakeholders alike. It is not only enhance the efficiency of data management but also ensure a seamless users experience. So it's let's embark on this journey to unravel the ER diagram of the Apna application. Let's come to overview of Apna application. Let's talk a quick look at what the Apna application is all about. Apna serves as a professional networking platform connecting job seekers with potential employees. Its features include profile creation, job searching functionality, and networking opportunities. Give the complexity of such applications having a well-designed database structure for smooth and scalability. Now let's come to introduction of ER diagram. What is ER diagram? Let's lay out the ground of understanding what an ER diagram entails. An ER diagram is a virtual representation of database structures, entities, attributes, and relations. Entities represents real world objects like users or jobs, while attribute define characteristics, relation associates between entities crucial for modeling the interaction within the application. Let's come to entities and attribute of Apna applications. Moving on, let's deploy into the specific entities and attributes with the Apna application. Entities such as user, job, and companies play main role in the functionality. Each entity proceeds attributes defining its property. Let's have what attributes are there for Apna application. First is for you. First is user. In user, there will be user ID. It's is a primary key. Second is user name. Third is third is email. Fourth, password, and DOB, date of birth, profile picture, l- location, phone number, and profiles. Now let's come to profiles. What should be in profiles? In profile, there are profile ID. It is primary key, user ID. It is foreign key, name, work experience, skills. Uh, at last, we see the skills, bio, websites, headlines, certi- certifications, and skills. Now see in skills what should be there. In skills there should be skill ID. It is a primary key, and name, cate- categories, and jobs. Now see in jobs what will be there. In jobs there will be job ID. Job ID will be primary key and titles. Next will be description. Next will be location. Next will be salary. Next will be employee ID. Employer, employer ID. Employer ID may be foreign key, company ID. It also can be foreign key, remote, and at large companies. Now see in companies what will be their name of company, location of a company, and then industry, uh, which company represent which industry, description about what's its company about, logo of company, website of a company, and some about messages. Now see in messages what should be there. In messages there should be message ID, message ID, it is a primary key, then senders ID, it is a foreign key, then context, time stamp, subject, what's about the message. Next it's about communities. Let's see in communities what will be there. In communities there will be community ID, community ID, name of community, description about the community, type of community, and next is about group members. In group members, first is user ID. It is a primary key and foreign key. It can be both primary key and foreign key. Next is community community ID. It can be also primary and foreign key. And next is about connections. In connections, there will be connection ID. Next is connection ID is primary key. Next is user ID. It is a primary key. And message ID. It may be for it can be also foreign key. Next is type and scene. Only type, not scene win. Next is about feedback. In feedback, there should be feedback ID. Next is user ID. Feedback ID is primary key and user ID is foreign key. And next is message. Date and next is review. In review ID. Next review as a primary key and user ID is foreign key. In review there will be also job ID. It is also foreign key. Job ID foreign key. And rating rating and at last there should be application. And there should be application ID. Next it is primary key, user ID, foreign key, job ID. It can also be foreign key, status, application, date, and cover letter. These are the attributes of the Apna application. These all are the attributes of Apna application. They are not in sequence. Let's go to the mind map. First is user. Second is profile, and you can also put here portfolio. Next is skill. Skills required for job. Next is for job. What type of job you required. Next it's companies, in which company you required the job. Next is message. Next is group member. Group members. Next is connections. Next is feedback. Next is review. Yeah, yeah. And, next. is application. Now let's come to user. In user, there will be user ID, username, only name, then email, then there will be password, password, there will be DOB, date of birth, profile picture, and location, and you take me more phone number, yeah, phone number. Now let's, these are for user ID. This is the only mind map uh, for the Apna applications. I will show the AR diagram also at last. In profile ID, user ID, name, work experience, skills, skills, education, bio. Next is website. Next is headlines, certificates, certifications. You take certifications, uh, and you can also add here interest. Now come to skill. In skill, there will be skill ID. Next will be name. Next will be category. There are only three in skill. You can add more also. Now come to job. In job, there will be job ID, title of job, description of job, location of job, salary, and employee ID, employees ID, company ID, company ID, remote, contact type also, contact type also here. Now contact. Let's move to companies. In companies, there should be company ID, and there is location, name of company, title, title, name of company, location of a company, salary, how much will you take, employee ID, employer ID, and we can take company ID also. Yeah, company ID and company ID, size of company. Oh, sorry, shit. Size of company. Now let's move to message. And there should be message ID and message ID. Community, community ID, type of message. Sorry. Let's cut these two. Subject of message, contact type, timestamp. Now let's move to group members. In group members, there should be group ID, user ID, community ID. These are now let's move to the connections. In connection, there should be connection ID, user ID, and in connection there should be one more than two users in connections. User ID one, and here should be user ID two. Status of connections. Now move to the feedback. In feedback, there should be feedback ID, user ID, date of feedback, message of feedback, and contact information also we can provide here. In review, there should be review ID. 1 minute. In review, there should be review ID, job ID, user ID, rating, and Dell, and these are in application. There should be application ID, user ID, job ID, application date and status, and there should be cover. Oh, sorry. Status and at last cover later. So this is the mind map of Apna application. There is user profile, skills, job, company, message, group members, connections, feedback, review, applications. Let's retake one. In user, there should be user ID, name, email, password, DOB, profile, locations, phone number. In profile, there should be ID, profile ID, user ID, name, work experience, skills, education, bio, website, headlines, certification, interest, and skill. There should be skill ID, name, category. You may add more in skill. Now let's move to job. In job, there should be job ID, title, description, location, salary, employee, company ID, remote ID, connection ID. Now in company, there should be company ID, title of company, name, location, salary, employee ID, company ID. Oh, sorry, we have got two company ID. Okay. Size. In message, there should be message ID, community ID, subject, what's about the message, contact information, time stamp, how much time will it take. Now moves to group member. There should be group ID, user ID, community ID. You may add some more. Now about connection, there should be connection ID. In connection, there may be more members. So we only taking about two, user ID one, user ID two, status. In feedback, there should be ID, feedback ID, user ID, date, message, and contact information. In review, there should be review ID, job ID, user ID, and rating of review. In application, there should be application ID, user ID, job ID, application date, what is its status, and cover letter. And you can add more about notification. In notification, there is notification ID, user ID, uh, and user ID, message ID, type of notification, what's its status, seen or not. You can add more in this. Now I am going to show you the ER diagram of the Apna application. So this is the ER diagram of Apna applications. Candidate do job in companies. Let's start about candidate. There should be candidate ID, user ID, phone number, DOB, and then email, profile picture. Then user ID is connected to password created at, and you can take user ID also, and it's also connected with email. And profile. Profile is connected with education, work experience, skills. You can take more. Work experience is connected to skill ID categories. Now let's move to the companies. In companies, there should be company ID, description, name of company, location, company website, and industry. and applications. You can add more application ID, etc. So this is the AR diagram for Apna application. Thank you.